Now, back though more to the charm offensive, the Barack Obama charm offensive, and the way that Julia Gillard sort of folded into all of that. Did we see something that we haven't seen on display in the past? Certainly George Bush and John Howard had a very good relationship, and it doesn't simply rely on the ideological sort of match-up, because Bob Hawke and Ronald Reagan got on perfectly well.
Yeah, these two look like they've become every bit as close as Howard and Bush. I first saw them up close last year in Japan and Korea. Just after Gillard became Prime Minister after the election, they you know, from what we get to see and what we get to witness, they get on fine. I don't pick up any tension at all, and they, yeah.
No, but the truth is, you can also overanalyse these kind of personal relationship things, and we don't get to see all that much. I mean, yeah, they seem to get on fine. I don't know that the relationship would be as deep yet or as strong as that between Howard and Bush, because that was forged in the aftermath of September 11 and the decision to take their countries into war. I mean, that's a pretty big thing for a relationship between two leaders. You know, I think these things can get a lot overanalyzed.
But I have witnessed icy moments. An icy moment between Clinton and Bush and Rudd at the White House
for good reason.
Yeah, and when Rudd told him Queensland was bigger than Texas, that went down well. But there is a natural warmth between these.
I'm intrigued by the sort of presentation of all this. I mean, left-wing academics have been telling us for decades how Harold Holt fawned, how John Gorton fawned on the Americans, how William McMahon did, and on it goes, how John Howard did. And when all this fawning goes on under a Labor Social Democratic government, it's all sort of understandable. Well, I mean, if you're against fawning when the Conservatives do it, you should be against fawning when the Social Democrats do it. And what you've got here is a double standard. I mean, even saw the Green Senator Lee Rhiannon sort of trying to get close to George W. Bush. I mean, George W. Trying to get close to President Obama. President Obama still has Guantanamo Bay open. Senator Rhiannon didn't say anything about that. So you've got all these Greens.
So what is it about President Obama? How does he do it?
Well, because he's a social democrat, because he's an African American. But if he was a conservative, I mean, look, if McCain had won the last election and came out here and said exactly the same thing, which he would have done, would have been all this kissing going on and hands around the back and all this fawning from the Greens. I very much doubt it. They would have sort of been a bit standoff with McCain. But because it's Obama, it's
then
all
again,
okay.
it was
and I welcome Obama. I think it's good.
Tony Abbott, who described him as the president of the world, so he has no problem with him either.
Well, of course he doesn't, but that's been the Conservative tradition, hasn't it? It hasn't been the Labor tradition. If you go back, there's
always
not
so much Labor. I think the Greens have.
Well, there's been majority Labor support for the ANZUS alliance, but if you go back 30 years and beyond. I mean, even Bob Hawke signed a petition against the Australian-American alliance once, although he said he couldn't remember doing so.
I think most recent Labor leaders have been fairly favourable towards the alliance.
Well, recent ones have, but there's always been
Labor
a tradition.
Prime Ministers, not Labor leaders. Mark Latham.
Latham aside, but Beazley and Rudd.
All I think there's a huge double standard here, and I don't mind the fact that he got all of that. I would have thought there would a little less kissing would have been okay, I think. But all I'm saying is, if we're going to criticise past Liberal leaders for doing it, you should criticise contemporary Labor leaders.